Welcome, one and all, to our Sunday gathering. Yay! We're back together. The week flew by. It's been a dark, dismal day here, so I didn't pull my screens down. And all of a sudden, just for the start of the Sunday gathering, the sun is shining through. So I might look a little brighter than normal today. I've got my wise owl on. Speaking of being wise, that song, Higher Power and Coldplay, I'll get into a little bit more during our address. But we talk about a higher power. Some people think of a God or universe or something like that. Others is the power that is within that we're tapped into. It might be our genius, our inner muse. You might have heard the past few weeks, I've been pretty anti making New Year's resolutions because they say, and we've experienced that they don't seem to come true. We get a head start on it and then they kind of fizzle out. So there are things that we can do instead of that. Last week, we were talking a little bit about taking action, and inspiration comes when we take action as opposed to the other way around. And so we just want to empower all of us, I think, really, as the divine souls we are. So we kind of have a theme today. Tim will share whatever's in his heart today. I'll share whatever's in mine. We have the wonderful Tim Southwell coming to us from Ontario, Canada. He's one of my most favorite people on earth. I love joining him or him joining us on the Sunday gathering. So I'm super thrilled that he is with us today. He will be doing our prayers today, doing our demonstration of mediumship, and also leading us off in the address. And then I do the things behind the scenes, the reading, the healing, and also I'll be sharing in that address with the announcements, of course. So whatever brought you here, we welcome you. We are here each and every week to inspire, to empower, to bring in the reality that we don't die, that our loved ones are still around and very much a part of our life. And especially today, that you are so much more than you think you are. You really are a divine soul having a human experience. So we'll get this show on the road. I'll turn it over to Tim for our opening prayer, but a warm welcome to you.
Hi, Sandra, and hi, everybody. And thanks, Sandra, for inviting me back again, too, and enjoying the fact that the sun's burst through with you. It's sunny here, which is great. And what was even more wild, and I'll maybe even talk about that later, in that song, that last song with the rhythm, trees were going with the wind for a significant amount of time, exactly in like almost like a metronome, if people know what that is. So that was fantastic. Speaks well, I think, speaks very well. So as we're gathered here, let us open with prayer, and we can pray to the God of your understanding. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and we'll begin that. So we give thanks, Great Spirit, that we again are able to join together and join amongst others, friends maybe we haven't actually met, but are online friends only by chat. But it's all still a wonderful connection. And we pray that we will have open ears and an open mind as we encounter words, thoughts, concepts, and readings and healing for ourselves and for others. And may we gather from those that are designed for others, something for ourselves even. And if we need healing, we ask that that happen as well, and that we are able to receive comfort today as we join together with our combined energies focused for this hour and an hour and a half. We give thanks that we can do this. We're very appreciative. Amen.
Thank you so much, Tim. Okay, the reading from me. Today, I'd like to talk about our soul power, the genius within, our muse. We often think we often think genius is something that only a few lucky people possess, like Einstein or Beethoven. But the mystic and scientist Walter Russell believed that genius is inherent in everyone. He said that mediocrity is self-inflicted, but genius is self-bestowed. So, how do we bestow it upon ourselves? Think of the musician Paul McCartney. He didn't struggle to write the song yesterday. He woke up one morning and the melody was simply there. Tina Turner and Chris Martin from the Coldplay videos we just saw describe their songs as arriving, fully formed, like a gift from the heavens. They didn't create the magic, they just made themselves available to it. History's greatest inventors did the exact same thing. Thomas Edison, the man who gave us the light bulb and so much more, knew that his best ideas didn't come from his logical brain. They came from silence. He used to sit in a chair holding heavy metal balls in his hands with metal plates on the floor. He would let himself drift off into that space between sleep and wakefulness, that space we can call sitting in the power. The moment he relaxed enough to receive the divine download, his hands would open, the balls would crash, clang, and he would wake up and write down the idea for the invention. He wasn't forcing ideas, he was fishing for them. Albert Einstein did this through gratitude. He said that 100 times a day he stopped to remind himself that his life depended on the labors of others. He kept his vibration high throughout the day with constant words of thankfulness. So, if Thomas Edison had to sit in silence and Einstein had to practice gratitude, and Paul McCartney, Tina Turner, Chris Martin, and so many more just seemed to wake up with ideas fully formed, maybe we don't need to work harder. Maybe we just need to learn to tune in. So, how do we stop forcing life and start receiving it? Here is my parable for today about a musician named Ilara. Ilara was the most disciplined flutist in the village. She practiced for 8 hours every day. She studied every sheet of music. She polished her silver flute until it gleamed like a mirror. Her goal was to write the greatest song ever heard. But every time she tried to compose, the notes sounded stiff. They were technically perfect, but they had no soul. They didn't make people happy. They just made people smile politely. Alara grew frustrated. I am working harder than anyone, she shouted at the sky. Why won't a great song come to me? Desperate, she hiked up the mountain to visit an old master musician who lived in a cave. She found him sitting outside holding a simple wooden flute. He wasn't playing it. He was just holding it up to the wind, listening to the breeze blow across the mouthpiece. Master, Ilara said, out of breath from climbing, teach me how to force the great song out of my flute. The master opened his eyes. That is your problem, Ilara. You're trying to push the music out, but you are not the source of the music. I'm not? She asked. No, he smiled. You are the instrument. The universe is the breath. He handed her his wooden flute. Try this and don't try to impress me. Do not try to be perfect. Simply empty your mind. Be grateful for the breath in your lungs and wait. You will know when you are ready. So Ilara sat on the rock. It was hard at first. Her mind was racing with resolutions to be better. But slowly, she let go. She listened to the rustle of the leaves. She felt gratitude for the sun on her face. She stopped trying to be a genius and just allowed herself to be. In that silence, a melody floated into her mind. It wasn't something she constructed. It felt like something she remembered. She lifted the flute and let her fingers move without thinking. The song that came out was extraordinarily beautiful. It sounded like the wind, the stars, and the music, and the mountain combined. It brought tears to her eyes. When she finished, she looked at the master. Where did that come from? It was always there, the master said. It just needed a hollow reed to flow through. When you are full of self, your effort, your worry, your ego, there is no room for your inner genius, your soul, the muse. But when you become empty, the divine can finally play its masterpiece. So, what's the meaning, you ask? Well, my friends, this week, we stop trying to force our lives into a masterpiece. Stop trying to make things happen with force. Instead, be like the flute. Clear your mind, sit in your soul's power, offer gratitude even before the song begins. You see, you are the instrument. Let the universe be the breath. And Mozart said, the music is not in the notes, but is in the silence between. Thank you for listening to my reading. We're going to go into our healing now, and this is our time to offer some loving prayers for those in need, and maybe even yourself. We offer that sweet intent, that little loving prayer that we all have inside of us, and we let those in the unseen world take that energy and deliver it to where it's needed. The song Tim picked is called My Silver Lining. The sisters who sing it sing about seeking a place where there is music and laughter. It acknowledges that life is a journey with a lot of unknowns, but we keep our eyes on the silver lining, that connection to spirit, that hope, and keep moving our feet. So as we listen to the song, we'll send our healing prayers to all in need. And after the song ends, you'll first hear from Tim and then myself for our address.
That's a really cool song. I like that one a lot. One of the best messages in there, there's a couple at least about keep on going. And I think that's essential, let alone finding that silver lining. It's hard to do that sometimes, to find that silver lining, because we can be going through a whole lot in our lives and stuff going on. And we can just be exhausted too. It doesn't have to be traumas all the time. We can just be working hard and finding no time for ourselves and just getting so worked up and so just tired that we can't even like lift a finger or even think of that silver lining. But I do think that's really critical. I do. Um, Even when there is something that's really tough that you're going through, I think every experience is meant for us to experience. It's all part of our journey. I don't feel that anything happens by accident. What I do, but this is a personal belief, what I do believe is kind of like degrees. So degrees of what happens. So if I am to experience a certain event in my life, it may happen in a big, very dramatic way, or it may be very subtle. Whatever it takes for me to just be able to kind of clock it and go, oh, yeah, okay, I've learned a little bit from that, or something inside me has changed a little bit as a result. Not everything needs to be a lesson I can write down and write down and learn something. You can journalize and absolutely examine it, and I think that's a good thing too. But there are times in which things also just happen. And rather than get weighed down by them, we keep on going on, as I said, or it's something to keep track of. We might not always be able to figure out what it is. In the journey I'm taking and am taking and have taken, I'm at this point now, and I do reflect back. I use New Year's for that kind of thing, reflecting back, and not to be maudlin, not to reflect over bad stuff, but to reflect on anything that just kind of comes up, because I feel that whatever happens to come up is maybe synchronatic, maybe that, if that's a word. I think I made up a word there. It might be on purpose just so that it's something to work through. There's all sorts of facets of us that we bring today to who you are. That includes all the icky experiences and all the wonderful ones, all the ones that happened last week as an adult, and all the ones that happened when we were a young kid. And looking back on those, if we do find the ones that I said were icky, the ones that we don't necessarily like to go into, we can kind of work on them a bit of a time, bit at a time. And I'm not suggesting we're finding a silver lining every single chance. That's going to be crazy, crazy difficult for sure. Instead, it would be I'm able to look at this through adult eyes now and be able to examine this is kind of what happened. And this is maybe my role in that, and this wasn't my role in that. So looking for those, being able to reflect on those are all really, really important, I believe. And it's all part of power, the inner power. And Sandra presented that's the topic for this week. And the first thing that came through my head, and music wise, is we've got the power in the club music kind of thing. And so after a couple of minutes of sort of bopping around to that, I figured, okay, what is there about that inner power? How do you get that inner power, that drive that kind of keeps on going, keeps on happening? And in Sandra's story, she did mention sitting in the power. And I think that is something that as a medium or psychic, sitting in the power is a very good way of building your own inner resources as well as going beyond and communicating and building blends. But let's look at the building the inner resources. Um, Now that was a different kind of sitting in the power that was mentioned there. But in both sitting in the power, I believe it's an attribute that we can benefit from by looking at things spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And if you get those moments in which I I feel like things aren't functioning, something's a little off, having a look at each of those three, and I'll give you an example. Each of those three is really valuable. It's funny, we don't go looking for the power when we are kind of in it and things are going fine. We just kind of motor right along and we don't seem to notice much of anything else. And hopefully you can notice things like trees moving in sync with the music that was played, as I mentioned earlier on. That was pretty wild, actually. And if you can be open and just willing to notice stuff like that in your life, that's really powerful. That will build your power. There's power in nature, even as I say that, because if you think of yourself as a battery, in a sense, to hold that power, why would we ignore nature? Nature is beautiful to the eyes, beautiful to the ears, and just being in nature grounds us, makes us feel centered oftentimes. So that's a very vital thing. That's something that's quite tangible. That's the physical part of the world in a sense. Another part of the physical part and kind of looking at the power is just our breath. Being able to breathe fully. And by fully, I mean like no one has to be around. You're letting that stomach out. You're breathing, filling up the lungs and the gut. Taking in a good deep breath of fresh air and just holding it. And if you're outdoors, even more that fresh air normally. If you're living in the inner city, maybe not. You can find another place. But still, you can breathe filtered air and fill up and then exhale all of it again. All empty that lung, empty the stomach. And just by doing that physically, it makes you aware of what's going on within you. It seems like we might notice the aches and pains, the normal things or illnesses that we might be carrying with us that day, but then they are acknowledged and they just kind of don't matter as much. We know they're there, they're not forgotten, but we're really starting to tune into the physical and seeing nature and hearing lovely sounds. And lots of times people like to listen to music. And lots of times people go into meditation and will do that. And that sets them physically into a nice place. And then emotionally, I'm going to go on to the emotional part. What I often like to do and suggest to people is when you're trying to get that power and be sensitive to your own power and kind of building that up again, what can you do? To get the emotional side going well, because we may be having a tough day or a tough time, and we all will go through that, and some are going through it right now, and to try to kind of move out of that at least as temporarily as long as we wish it could be, but it may only be temporary. That's what I'm trying to say. That emotional side of us, going back to a happy memory, going back to thoughts of loved ones, going back to those wonderful moments, whether there are parties, whether it's Christmas time for some, um, whether it's a good friend that's with us now, or whether it's someone who's passed that we just love being in their company, filling ourselves with that emotion. They say you can't have two emotions at the same time. So by filling up that yourself with that good emotion, you're kind of pushing out and distracting the mind from thinking of the negative, the stuff that's going on. It's not going to go away. You can leave it at the door as best as possible. It will come back when it's needed. But for the moment, getting that power within, re-energizing yourself, there's that physical breath and there's that thinking of the positive side. And then there's the spiritual. It was really nice too to hear Sandra talking about studying various religions, or world religions around the world. That was an interest of mine actually a while back. And what do you know? I ended up teaching that course in school. Um, but it was fascinating. Those moments in which you're sitting down, you say, "Okay, now what? I'm not going to turn on the TV, and I don't want to start my book because I won't be able to put it down." One of the things I found was I could pick up some information online most of the time, and just look at what does that religion mean? Where does it come from? What do they appreciate? What's the depths of their, what are maybe the differences of what I believe? And what are the variations even within each of those religions? And it's absolutely fascinating to see the connections between them and to see the differences. And it really is eye-opening. And when you consider you are in your religion, it seems like that's the only religion or that's the only belief system that you may be in. And there are billions believing something other than you. So you actually may be outnumbered. You may not be the only one in your belief system. That doesn't matter though. It, what is your belief system is your belief system. And I'm going to talk a little bit there, combine that into some of the spirituality. Where you decide to put your faith and your belief can be the lifelong journey, and it will change. I do believe, though, it's really important that you have something to hold on to at any given time. There are times in which we all will go through that doubt, and that's where we need to kind of investigate and go into why is that doubt coming up? What's really happening there? Is that something to do? Because sometimes when we're ill, it could be a physical thing. Sometimes when we're thinking of the thoughts that aren't quite so happy or healthy, that can also drag us that way. If we can align the physical and emotional first, then we can examine into our spirituality. What is it that seems true to you? What is your belief? What feels right inside? And that's where we get that sensitivity, that little bit of spirit in us saying, this feels right. This feels like what should be natural. And at least what's true to me. And if I can figure out what some things are that are true to me, there's power in that. That gives you something to go back to. And I'll give you an example of that too, which is really kind of cool. So last week I was in at another service, and the person that was leading the service there, the theme was stars. And you know how stars, we all can connect to stars in some way. When you wish upon a star, they were singing that at one point. So everything from Disney to almost every religion, belief system has a good anchor in what a star means to them. And it can mean a variety of different things. But it's that celestial thing that's so far away and yet so bright, kind of like what we are. We can be so far away from each other, but we each have that little light that shines. That's another song. But if we focus onto the star, it was tied into last week about the wise men following the star. That's where it came up. But it was just the fact that stars are universal in belief systems. It was fascinating. So the person leading this had cut out all these stars, like bless their hearts. Everyone was going to get a star handed to them by a little child. Um, and he had written a word on every one of those stars. And that was to start, in a sense, the new year, because a lot of us, yeah, don't necessarily like resolutions. There's a lot of pressure in resolutions, right? And and I don't have to have another pressure put on me if I don't need to. If I know I need to fix something, I shall try to work on it. But instead, he was giving a word written on a star for us to kind of ponder. And I'm going to share my word that came up, totally arbitrary. And if you want to do that too, he said there's value in you thinking of your word that would be for the year or for however you want to move forward, your star word, not Star Wars, but star word of the day. And or what if it's given to you? I like that one. If it's given to you, it's kind of like a fortune cookie, you know? You crack open and you're really wanting to see what it says, and maybe there's some sort of connection there that's coming from the universe. So this word on the star that was handed to me by this little boy was authenticity. So I'm going to share that word with you. So rather than you going through all the motions of having the star written out and figuring that out, you can have my word with me. Authenticity. You are authentic. So one could take it, how can I be authentic? I am authentic. We're going to go with you are authentic. What does that mean to you? How is it that you are authentic? How is it that you are real? Are you true to yourself? Are you telling yourself the truth and not those little niggly thoughts in your mind that kind of get after you? Are you sticking to the truth? Is that a center core? It's a center core of so many people. So think about the authenticity, being authentic, and that's your go-to. So next time when you're feeling a little like the power's leaked out of you, then just say to yourself, I am an authentic person. I like to be authentic. That's who I am. And that's how I exist. And I am a strong person because of that, because I tell the truth as appropriate. That's also important. But because I know that about myself, that is my part of my core. That is part of my spirituality. That is who I am. That's where my strength can be hung on occasion. So you've got your physical, your emotional happiness, and a little bit, but you can personalize it too, of where your spirituality is. Combine those three, and you've got the power. Thanks. And over to Sandra.
Oh, thanks so much, Tim. That was great. I was on the edge of my seat, not knowing what was coming next. So I'll be my authentic self now. Okay. Yes, I am, because I am authentic. Where do great ideas come from? Has it ever happened to you that you're in the bath or in the shower and all of a sudden, ding, like, where did that come from? And it often seems to come in your own voice as well. I think it's because we're relaxed, we're in the zone, whatever that may be, and a thought can come in. Well, for me, shower works, but also here's a little show and tell. I've got one of these 3D Oculus sets. You've seen these, you've seen people wear them. I am super committed to being my healthiest self. So every morning for about a half hour, 20 minutes to half hour, you can find me in my kitchen boxing or, the swords or whatever. And I've got these 3D balloons that are coming my way and I'm bashing them. So that's what I do. Is a program called Supernatural on the Oculus, got stretching and all kinds of good things, but they're all done to music. So there's different music that you can listen to from every different generation and every different speed you can imagine. I can do high intensity, low intensity, whatever. So I usually do like the recommended one of the day, and I get to learn some new music. So this past week, you heard the two songs by Coldplay in the beginning, and I've got one more at the end. But there is the artist of the week, and it was Coldplay. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll listen. And I knew some of the songs, I didn't know all of them. But as I was doing the exercises, I was feeling really good, and I was in the zone, and I was listening to the words, and I was super duper inspired, and I felt good. And has it ever happened to you that you hear a poem or a song, or you look at a flower, or even an animal, or I don't know, piece of artwork or something, and you just feel like it's divinely inspired? You could use your own definition of divine, but it's just something that really resonates. So I don't know too much about Coldplay, so I decided to look, and sure enough, the lead singer feels like those songs just arrive fully formed. And then I started thinking about other stories that I've heard: Paul McCartney, Tina Turner, Sting, and others that have felt this same thing, that the music just arrives in that quiet space. So that's why we have the Coldplay songs today, and they inspire me. So I thought about that. And when I'm doing the punching and the exercising and all that stuff, I am in the zone. So I'm so present to what I'm doing. And then suddenly, like an idea will come in. So everything Tim and I discuss with you on our Sunday gatherings, I'm sure it's because it's things that we are present to in our own lives. So certainly I have things I want to do. There's always a mile long to-do list. Never have enough time to do it. I catch myself thinking, I've got my mom in the next room and she's a lovely lady. I got to spend more time with her because we have fun together, but I've got all these things to do. And I thought, let's just relax. So when I think about being in the zone, when I think about being inspired, when I think about letting those ideas just come, a common denominator is letting go, right? Letting go. Sitting in the power we're taught is a wonderful thing for our psychic and mediumistic practice. Really, it's like that spiritual recharge. Like we couldn't imagine using our cell phone if we don't plug it in. Well, we too have to plug ourselves in. So quieting the mind and connecting to that greater source. It can do all kinds of great things, new ideas and help with health and things like that. And I picture an artist who is ready to paint, and they need to start with a blank canvas. Could you imagine them trying to peel away the layers of everything already on there to get busy? Well, we can't do that. So for you, what is it that can kind of clear the slate and have the open canvas for the ideas to come or that personal power to show up? I know you probably know this when you're passionate about what you do, it's easy to do. If you have a job that you love, it's easier to do than something you're forced into. So, one of the practices that I do almost every day. You can call it a to-do list, but I actually call it an integrity list. There's always stuff up here, always. It's got to be done, whether it's today, this week, a dream or a goal, but I put it all out on paper. It's all out. So it's out of my head, allowing space for something new to arise. And then to have that power, again, I put massive pressure on myself to get things done. I never get everything done in a day that I wish to. I try to let that go. I really do. And just know that um, tomorrow and yesterday, they're all just left in our imagination or our memory. It's really right now, the present moment that counts, isn't it? It is. So once that integrity list is out there, I can have that quiet time. And Tim mentioned religion. I am going through this, I don't know if you want to call it a growth spurt or not, but you've heard me regularly talking about um, near-death experiences and major world religions, about being kind to people, being of service, being loving, being forgiving. And then those folks who have had near-death experiences, a lot of them give up their formal religion and they concentrate on those things after being connected with the light. And on my investigation also, I don't know how this happened, but here, it's show and tell today, autobiography of a yogi. That's my latest read. I was reading more wise people, George Harrison from the Beatles and Steve Jobs, created Apple and so many others. They said, "Oh my gosh, this book changed my life," right? And anytime they need a source of power, they go to that. I thought, oh, what the heck is in this book? So I got it. And it's really tied in with the mysticism of some of the great, the mystics and Jesus and others, Buddha, Krishna, others, and quieting the mind. Here's the foundation where I'm going with this. It's the quieting of the mind and connecting to all that there is, that we are so much more powerful than we believe, that we are connected really to everyone and that God source within us. So I'm finding the reading fascinating. I truly am, because it all goes along the same principles. But the common denominator really is that spiritual recharge. And in this book, there's a place that these yogis go that is so far beyond you and I sitting for 10 minutes just in our own power, but it's a place of really letting go. And the stories of them connecting to that God source or that light within, and having, those ESP moments and those otherworldly connections. And I think for myself, that's probably the next journey I'm going to go on, is within, not necessarily with the guide of the book, but really letting go. They say let go and let God, whatever your definition of God may be. So for today, I just want to leave you just sprinkling with that personal power, that you are so much more than you think you are, down to our tiniest little atoms that are bouncing around in molecules and cells and all that. All we are is really invisible vibrating energy. They call them quarks, I think. But that's what we are. And around us, we are connected to a ton of other invisible things. Could be wind, it could be radio, could be internet or television signals or your GPS signals. But I 100% believe in that invisible space. Of course, energy cannot be destroyed. It's also the world in which our loved ones are very much real. And so by sitting in the power, as we're taught in Carrie and Phil's classes and Scott's classes as well, it provides that power to be able to connect and trust. We all have it, my friends. There's not one person more gifted than another. Now, I know certainly there's people that have some gifts, whether it be art or whatever that may be, but we can learn. Walter Russell is someone that we don't hear spoken about too much these days. In fact, he died I think he died the month I was born in 1966, but he was one man that did so much in one lifetime between art and science and writing. I think he was the man responsible for bringing figure skating to North America. He wrote elements or created elements or found elements for the periodic table. Whatever he tried, he seemed to excel in. A polymath, I think is what you call that. But he also attributed it to tapping into that genius within, quieting the mind, and understanding that we are all connected to this cosmic consciousness. So take from my address what you will, but please know that you are so much more than you think you are. I say it lightly, but I really mean it. We're divine souls having a human experience. The power of gratitude, like Einstein, looking at everything and 100 times a day, thanking the people that created everything that we have available. That act of gratitude really can move mountains. And I've practiced this, and I don't know why we human beings don't spend more time in gratitude because it really does feel good. I think it's got to do with our that ego mind that we have. But the more we sit in gratitude, the more good things that show up. So, all to say, I'm grateful that you're here today. I'm grateful that you're open. And I just want to leave you with you're more than you think you are. There's so much more than meets the eye, really. You are the stuff that stars are made of. We are connected. Your loved ones are around. You are supported. So take some time this week and just quiet down. Maybe make that integrity list or the to do list. Set it aside and get present and be open to something unknown. So thank you for listening to our address. We are going to move on now to our demonstration of mediumship. I know we have several first timers here with us today, as well as many returning Sunday gatherers and some Sunday gatherers we haven't seen in a while. And I know some of you are watching the replay. Whatever field you're in, let me tell you about our demonstration. We have a medium demonstration every Sunday, just so we are all present to the fact that we truly don't die. Our bodies might disappear, but we live on. And like I said, it's a world within a world. I don't believe heaven, if you want to call it that, is out there beyond the clouds. I believe we are part of that world. They're not part of ours. We're part of their world. So Tim is our wonderful medium today. Always so grateful that when he's here. And he, in his own way, will ask those in the spirit world, whoever wishes to work with him, to do so. And so there will be members of our community that will get a reading today. I say, and if you follow my words every week, that you can pull something from every reading towards yourself. So hopefully you were inspired a little by some of the words Tim and I shared today. I think those people in the spirit world that work with Tim today, they're really here for all of us. But that being said, you may be a person that gets our reading today. This is how it works. Tim will first describe the spirit person that has connected to him. Now, they do everything they can with their thoughts and feelings to paint a picture for Tim, not just visually, but sometimes I know it's happened before. There could be a song, there could be a feeling. Even sometimes there might be a strudel or some kind of delicious baked good that the person in spirit presents themselves with. So when you hear the description of the person, you have to think to yourself, and sometimes your soul gives you that little nudge. Is this a person that I know that no longer walks this earth? It could be a loved one, of course it could be, but it could also be somebody you worked with or a friend. Sometimes it's somebody you haven't thought of in 50 years. We don't know how they work. We don't know the method to the madness, but we do know one thing, that they are around and they love us. So if you can understand the full description that Tim offers of the person and spirit that has connected with him, we want you to press your raise hand button. Now, this is an opportunity for everybody to find that raise hand button on their device and press it for me. I love seeing, I get all these yellow hands that pop up on my side, on our side. If you can't find that, you might be on a device that you see three little dots. Press that, and then the raise hand button should appear. Why this is important is because, number one, it'll help us get to the person that gets the reading while we're here today. But also, sometimes there's two or more people that can take all the information. So you'll notice that raise hand button now says lower hand, so you can lower it. But if you find your hand is raised and you take all the information that Tim has shared about the loved one in the spirit world, and say we have five people with their hands raised. Well, Tim will give us another bit of information. And if you say, oh, that's no longer applies to me, then just do us the favor and lower your hand. I really do believe that our loved ones work together. They're all working together, really pushing this information forward. So even if you're not the person that gets the reading, please know that your loved one is around. They're part of your life. They truly, truly are. And they're helping the others in the spirit world get through today. So if you're the last person with your hand up, I press a button on my side. You're going to get a pop-up on your screen with an unmute button. So we want you to press that unmute button, and that will allow us to hear your voice. That's all we need from you. Your camera stays off. Let Tim do the work, or if you ever have a medium reading, let the medium do the work. All we need from you is a yes, no, or I don't know to the information that they give. All right. Don't volunteer any information. This is proof that Tim really is communicating with our loved ones in the spirit world. All right. And so for the rest of us, if we don't get a reading ourselves, please know and please assume that these representatives of the spirit world are people here for all of us. So pay attention to how close they are. Pay attention to maybe the message that comes through. You might say, oh, I could really use that today. Well, take it. They are working together. So we always like to play a nice piece of music before we go into our demonstration. Today is no difference. The song is called I Lived by One Republic, but it starts out for the first minute. It's a story of a young man named Brian with cystic fibrosis. And let the song just kind of fill your sails of what's possible in a lifetime, no matter what ailments or obstacles that you may have. So I'll let you meet Brian, and then we'll hear the song, and then we'll come back with the demonstration. So here we go. Thank you for
Thanks.
another wonderful song, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for playing that too. It's emotional, so I have to kind of step back a bit from them when they play there. But what came to me that during that was that that's a young man that goes beyond what people would say physical limitations, and instead would call them maybe physical guidelines. And how often do we kind of put up limitations for ourselves that we could probably go beyond when the time is right? And so they're just guidelines. We can be who we want. Okay, and with that, thanks, Sandra, for the introduction. And yes, please, if you happen to recognize who is coming through, if in response you could just say yes or no or I don't know, that would be fantastic. And that way, we can let them speak and let them bring forth the evidence and what it is they'd like to relay to us today. And I do have I have a determined young man here who definitely is here for mom, and this young man relays that oftentimes it would be as if he was the adult in the relationship between parents and him, and with that he's a mature young man. He definitely looked out for family members, he looked out for his friends, and he looked out for mom. Um, Going to see if there's anything else that he has. Not at the moment. I'm going to put that out there and see who's. who would respond to that.
Thank you very much. All right, Mom's in the audience, son in the spirit world, and he looked out for you. All right, we have three lovely ladies with their hands raised.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. So with this young man, I know that he had a favorite, seems like a spring jacket, or actually, no, it's a team jacket. He had a favorite team jacket that he owned.
All right, thank you very much. Now your hands went down after he said the team jacket. All right, Cher, you have your hand raised. Let's talk to you. Cher, if you can press that unmute button. Hi,
Hi.
Cher. Hi.
Hi, Cher. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you.
Great. And you can recognize that information.
Yes.
Um, I feel very much that there was a time there where he would be not just a time, it was part of his habit to always make a point of saying, goodbye, I'll see you later, I'll be back.
Yes.
And he's giving me that there's a strong memory of, and I feel it's close to his departure, where there was like a wave, and he's definitely his typical happy self, and he's saying, "I'll see you later." And there's just something a little bit different in that goodbye.
No.
No, okay. If it's not in that good, if not in that moment, okay. In the It's a little bit trickier than that, I think. What we're getting instead is the sense that um, close to the end in the goodbyes, it may not have been at the door saying goodbye. There was a feeling before he left that something was different.
Yes.
And with that, he's giving me the very strong feeling that the tie between you two was quite almost intuitive.
Yes.
There were feelings that and I'm going to stick with him especially because it's a little bit unusual for a young man to be that in tune, but he was quite aware of how people were feeling, but especially how you would be feeling.
Yes.
And he was sensitive to the things that he said because he wanted to make sure that he didn't upset people.
Yes.
And again, especially with yourself, it seems as if he's giving you the impression that he knew which buttons to press. Well, he had a little bit of a devilish side to him too, didn't he?
Yes.
Because he's saying he's relaying that he knows which buttons to press, but usually using his powers for good. He would say the right things to make you feel good when he was appreciative,
Yes.
but he also knew how to say what to say to tease. It was nothing really more than a tease
Yes.
to get you going. And I feel that that was he had such a bright smile as well. And he's giving me memories of moments where he's in the teasing and he's almost like trying to fool you. And then he gave himself away by the twinkle in his eye and the smile that he'd have. You knew he was kidding.
Yes.
A very dear young man, and I do feel that a lot of people loved him.
Yes.
Appreciate and appreciated by so many friends. There's a level of friendship here. Lots of times people keep a close network. It feels as if he had a broad network of friends.
Yes.
And he would be the one they would go to for comforts, not necessarily advice. That would be there too, but I feel like he was a very good guy at being able to provide comfort to his friends and I'll stop there.
Yes.
Yes. Um, And the key thing there is because he was a true listener.
Yes.
He didn't need to say a whole lot of words. He had the right words though.
Yes.
There's a younger sister, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And there's that connection there too that was very dear. Um, it I know son and I know older brother, but it feels as if those words don't even um do justice to how deep and connected that was between the three of you.
Yes.
He was, he's giving you the impression that he would wear his emotions on his sleeve. You knew how he was feeling.
Absolutely.
And he would be quite honest about that, quite open.
Yes.
And I want to throw in the word genuine as well. When you heard something from him, you knew that was true.
Yes.
That's rare. He's giving that he's giving that sense as if I didn't need to hide anything.
That's right.
I could be completely open because I'm just honest,
Yes.
genuine to a fault. Um, he was also quite, the other part of him is he was quite able to suss out the situation. I like his language here. To to go in there and to he could tell who was BSing and who wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's not one to chastise even. He's not one to even get in their face angry about them unless it interfered with family. He, I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like he would just meet it with a smile and cut right through the malarkey and and just make it an honest conversation, make it truthful.
Yes.
And I feel that's why he had male friends and he had female friends, and they loved him just the same because he was trustworthy.
Yes.
And I do know that he was very active in high school as well, active athletically.
No.
Okay, if not athletically, because I can feel him um, looking after himself, being fit, but attending games as well. Does that make sense to you?
No.
No, okay. I may be going off to in another direction here because it feels as if there's a team of guys that were like my sports team in a way.
No.
No, okay. I may be moving on to another connection here. I want to go back to him though, and because I know that there's another son that's in the waiting here. Um, he is giving memories of conversations in the kitchen while you were making meals. Does
Yeah.
that, sorry, so,
Yes.
yes, yeah. Um, he's also giving the impression he didn't help much, couldn't help much. This was mom's territory. This was mom's thing to do, but that's where some of the good conversations could happen.
Yes.
Because it's almost like the distractive, if what was happening physically distracting allowed, and he's talking about you now, allowed you to open up and just sort of be a little bit more real with him.
Yes.
Um, and I want to stick with the word real. So from him, it's a huge thank you. It's a huge thank you for being true to him. You're the one, yeah. Um, you're the one who raised him to be that way.
Yes.
So everything you saw in him, he owes you. And he wants that to be very clear. Um, Also, he's mentioning very pointedly to remember best the good times, the laughing moments. Those are the memories he wants you to bring forward. There may be other ones that were not as pleasant, but he wants you to remember the ones that were laughing, not so much the ones very close to the end, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
So, with his love, I say thank you. And I thank him as well for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cher. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. So, Sandra, I did feel there was a presence of another son, and it may be some of the ladies whose hand was up before, too. Um, just want to go back to him as well. Okay. Yeah. So, I have another son stepping forward. Um, Again, devilish side is in there as well, but with a sense of humor. I get the feeling from him that he's pointing out that he wasn't quite as um, not as quite as there wasn't as much camaraderie as our previous person. So there's a little bit, and by that, there was a little bit back and forth between him and mum. There's sometimes some arguments, sometimes some fights that went on, but he definitely had that good soul inside of him. Um, and it's important for him. He's stepping forward as being active at school, having a group of guys that were like his brothers at school. Um, and also, I don't feel as if he was madly into being physically fit, but he was in good shape as well. And I'll leave it there and see if someone answers to that.
Thank you. If you can understand this information, please press your raise hand button. We have Lori with her hand raised. Lori, you should see that unmute button now. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lori. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, good. Thank you. And you can recognize that all that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Again, he's pouring in the love as well. So he wants to acknowledge that first off the bat. Um, And he's also wanting to acknowledge what you did for him. It seems like he's going right to message. We usually, usually we've got a bit of evidence that happens first. So we have the group of guys. Okay, he wants to go back to the group of guys that were like a team for him. You'd understand that from high school.
Yes.
Yeah. They were best buddies and they would be there through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And I feel that they knew you quite well from your son. They knew you quite well. They it's kind of like in Happy Days where you had Mrs. C and they'd come into the room. They knew you well enough to say hi.
Yes, some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were kind of close. Not incredibly close, but they were good lads.
Yes.
Yeah. Um and he's giving a shout out to those guys because he knows those guys uh some of them were a little hard. Do you know what I mean as well? They weren't quite a soft kid guy. They had some street sense to them.
Not sure.
Not sure. Okay. Yeah, it's about the other guys, so we're not sure. Let's go back to your son though. Um, your son's giving me the impression that he was a planner. He liked to plan things out what the way they were going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. That provided him comfort.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're aware of that.
Yep.
Um, And yes, he would like surprises, and getting the impression surprises from you were okay, but he didn't like surprises that life had.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, and it isn't so much that, I just didn't like them, that they would throw him and he could go into a little bit of a um, tizzy
Yeah.
whirlpool. Yeah. Um, he's a very emotionally sensitive guy, but he didn't like to show that.
Yes.
And I feel like he didn't like talking about that with you, but he let you bring it up.
Yep.
Okay. Um, I wish I had done more of that. He's relaying, I wish I had done more of that. He sees there's a thank you in there for it. There are times in which you forced him to basically express himself.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yep.
and that he is so grateful for. Even the ones that weren't quite as dire. There were other times in which from him, you knew to he needed to get it off his chest.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back to the planning as well. The way he liked the things organized, he liked things to be in a certain order, in a certain way.
Yes.
You'd understand that, yeah.
Yes.
And I also feel that he needed help in not becoming so deeply dependent upon that.
Yep.
And
Yes.
that was through you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks, Mum, is there as well. And I feel like it wasn't just in what you said, but you actually had to put some things in motion to kind of break that apart.
I did. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So then there's the thank you there. I feel that very close to his time for crossing is that he was getting better at being able to say thank you for himself.
Yes.
Um, and he does want to acknowledge that um there's a lot of hard work that he had done personally on self and being able to speak up, and that things appeared to have been, he's relaying things appeared to have been taking a good turn, very positive before he passed.
Yes.
And he does want to acknowledge that, okay, and I know you talked to him as well after he's passed,
Yes.
and he wants to acknowledge that any sense of unfairness, that it seemed like he was getting things aligned better and then he had to leave. That's part of his journey that he had to take. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Um, he's talking about that on several levels, one of which is um, there's a feeling from him that there's a bit of guilt that he wants to relieve you of around that time, and that
Oh,
and that nothing needed to be said. There's nothing that would have been able to change what was going to happen. He wants to address that. He also wants to address the fact that things seeming to alleviate right beforehand um, does make sense to him now. Trying to make that a little bit more evidential, but um, he does want to take the word unfair out of that equation, not substitute a new word because there's a lot of emotion there, and he doesn't want to take away that emotion, but he wants to take away just that word unfair. Um, because there was victory, he's alluding to the fact that he overcame so much up to that point.
okay. Okay.
That's the thought that he wants and hopes that you would remember most was that many things have been overcome, and he owes that so much to your perseverance and not letting him get away with going inside too far.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Very much his sending his love and that support. He's relaying that yes, you do talk to him, and yes, you know when he's around, and you have felt that his presence is around. Um, he's also relaying that there are times that you haven't felt him around and wish you could, and he's relaying that he is still there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And that I believe is something that's very recent because I feel like there is a nighttime conversation from and that he's relaying. Um, he's not absent. He's not away.
Gosh. Yes.
It's
Oh my
he,
gosh.
but he can be very subtle.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Okay. You're
Yes.
very welcome, Laurie, and thank you. Thank your son as well. Okay. Let's see here. Hmm. Okay. Um, So Sandra, next I feel actually a daughter, and she's got a bit of a nice kind of um, enough of the boys. Now it's my turn, girls. Kind of she has her girl power there that she wants to bring forward. Okay, um, okay. Now she actually okay. I feel that I pass as a young lady. Um, and we may have brother in the audience actually. Listening. I want to give a bit more about her, though. Um, okay, there's a sense of she kept a lot to herself, her own emotions to herself. She is down to earth, though. She is, um, and she is also. There's a side of her that's a go-getter. If she could be knocked down, hurt, but she'd pick herself up and get back to it again. Um, but she kept a lot of that inward. I feel like she didn't seek outside help. That was all within her. So I'd like to see if we have someone in the audience, and I feel like this is sister to brother.
Thank you. All right. If you can understand this information, raise your hand for us, please. So you're looking for a brother of a gal that's in the spirit.
Right.
Okay.
And that, yeah, possibly I'm not too surprised there because I feel though I might have that connection relationship wrong. I'm still with the young lady though, and I may be it may be mom who's actually in listening to the gathering today.
All right. If there's a mom who can understand this information about her daughter, go ahead and press your raise hand button. Now, Lisa, I know you just typed in the chat box to us. Do you want to raise your hand? Okay, we have Cheryl and Lisa, both with their
Okay.
hands raised.
So I'm going to stay with the daughter and so the personality trait that I have to keep though as well. That she did keep a lot to herself, but she was a go-getter and she could take a situation where she was knocked down, persevere and overcome that. That's going to be very important. And I'm okay approaching mom here, but I also feel okay with brother that I would have a special connection, a special attachment to brother.
Okay, thank you very
That's
much.
how brother's playing in.
All right. All right, we have
Okay.
Lisa and Alina just put her hand up. So I ask that you raise your hand if you can understand all the information. Okay. Would you like to talk to Lisa first?
I'm just going to go
Or
back to the
keep
daughter
working.
for one
Okay.
more bit here before we listen. Okay, because yeah, that connection with brother is an important one. Um, I feel that that she would have had a reliance on one brother in particular. It may be her only brother. I'm not quite sure of that part. Um, and I feel that the conversations between them would have solved more often her problems than the conversations between daughter and mom. Hopefully that makes sense. So between daughter and brother, those were good conversations, and they would often kind of solve the world's problems, or at least the daughter's problems, a little bit more so than with daughter and mom. But the rapport with daughter and mom is still good. I'm not sure if
Thank
that
you.
creates a
All right,
difference.
Lisa and Alina still both have their hands raised. I'm gonna
Okay,
see if we can hear some voices that might help.
sure, that would be
Lisa,
great.
can we hear your voice? Say hi, Lisa. Hi.
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 Hi, Lisa. How are you
Um,
doing?
yes, good, thank you.
And so far, you can understand all that information?
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
right. Don't
yeah.
say any more, though.
Okay, sorry.
That sounded like you're going to say a little bit more. Okay.
You're right.
Elena, if you could keep listening, I may feel that I am with Lisa here. Definitely want to go back to daughter, and I want to feel like daughter is one who liked to solve her own problems.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, and in fact, she didn't like going to family members to help her with situations that she was going through.
Yes, she was definitely handling things on her own,
Right.
but
And
yeah,
although I do feel that there were meaningful discussions, and I definitely want to differentiate between the discussions with brother, like they are a good combo, her and her brother. Very tight. That's a yes, I think.
yes.
Okay. Um, and then
That's
also,
come up before too. I mean, in medium
yes.
things I've had that they have she's in she's even though she's passed, she's
Yeah. Yeah. I was
like,
referring to in the living.
helping him.
When,
Anyway,
yeah, in the living, they were quite close.
yes.
Yes. Okay. I also feel though that there is such an independent streak with her. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I feel that she is giving me the impression that between herself and yourself, there's a lot of similarities in characters.
Very much so.
Okay. Yeah. Um, she's going into a little bit of explanation. I'll hang on to that for the end there. Um, I also feel very much that she wanted to not just stay in the good books, but she wanted to be an impressive daughter. She wanted to make sure that she was one that you could be proud of.
Very much so. Yeah.
And and that was some of the situations. She would work hard at not keeping things from you, but for from maintaining that image so that she could be you could be proud of her.
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah. Very much someone who is very when she's focused on something, very dedicated to getting it done.
Correct. Yes.
And I feel that her aspirations for work and for career were well set in front of her. She knew where she wanted to go.
Yes.
And I feel that she was a great planner in a different sense than our previous person, in that she knew what little pieces to put in place. So she was working very methodically, step by step, to get there.
Yes.
Um, and leaning on my brother from her perspective was she liked to hear his input. She liked to hear his point of view. She was willing to take that from him.
Yes. I didn't know that much. I mean, he's younger than she is, but I mean, they're close, but I don't know if she spoke to him about career, but I think
Right.
so.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
and other parts of it, because I feel like I'm more willing to open up to my brother about some more personal things than I would be to my mom.
it's possible. Although she was very open with me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. There's just that little bit extra there that the brother um okay. I feel that your daughter was a little reluctant to hear, as we all are, criticism. She didn't
yes,
she didn't take criticism
true,
too well.
true,
And I
yes,
feel there may have been some disagreements, and she's saying, putting around it though, incorrect from her perspective, about feeling judged. You'd
um,
understand that she would feel judged at times.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um, Even though it feels now that from her perspective, that was not what was going on. It was meant to be of help.
right,
Yeah.
right,
And those would be the conversations with mom. That's she's relaying those. Yeah. Is that she kind of gets now that those were meant to be assistive rather than um, criticizing.
right,
But
right,
and she wants to acknowledge that she at times had a hard time differentiating between the two, and she could go into quite a huff when she wanted to.
yes, I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's where she would kind of shut down emotionally. And from her, I get that when she shut down, it could be a day or two before she kind of would come back to her regular self, but that would come back.
yeah. That's not like her too much. She was pretty.
Okay, I'll take that as a
As
no.
a child, she
Yeah,
was like that, but not as like a young adult.
right. Well, I'll take that
Um,
as a no because I want to
okay,
differentiate that for you.
okay.
Yeah, because with her, it comes down to that independent streak. She doesn't necessarily like to be told how to solve a problem. She's the problem solver herself.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, and she's coming very strongly through about her brother. So she's coming through with lots of thanks for you. Actually, thanks for you for sticking to your guns and not letting her um, get away with not opening up as much. Like I feel that there was good conversations there, but there are times that you had to go a little bit in to make her open up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
So she is saying thank you for that. And if you can relay to her brother, very much the thank you for listening. And it feels from her like she wants to acknowledge he was a good balance of knowing when to say something and when not to say something, from a guy, is what she's attaching that to. Is to get that from a guy was really helpful for her.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
And
Thank
again, she
you.
gives you many thanks and her love, of course. And I
Thank you
thank you
so
too,
much.
Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Great. And Sandra, how are we for time?
Well, we're getting close to the end. If you want to do one more, you can. If you feel like,
Okay,
I
let's
think
see if
everybody
there's
would love it if you continued on.
sure, sure. Let's see if there's um hmm, okay. Okay. Um it's quite different from today. I mean, so I get a sense of a brother-in-law who was very interested in sports car racing. Brother-in-law in spirit who is very interested in sports car racing. Um, okay, actually, okay. I also do I also do know he is very to the point as well. I'll say that. And I'm going to leave it there for now to see if someone can take that information.
All right. Well, we have Julie with her hand up. Let's talk to Julie. Julie, if you could press your unmute button. Hi, Julie.
I,
Hi.
Hi, Julie. So there's just a couple of points there so far, but you can understand them.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I want to stick to that, get to the point, because I feel like from him, he wants things direct and done. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, because yeah, um, what was great about that, I feel, is that he could be understood very clearly, and he was quite concise.
Yes.
Um, now from him, what I also feel is that sometimes would come across as a bit curt and a bit directive. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, my sister can attest to that.
Okay, yeah. Um, but there's no ill will attached to that. It's just, why waste? Let's not waste things. He definitely doesn't like to waste time. He doesn't like to waste emotion. He doesn't like to even, I feel, around the house, there's items about not being wasteful.
Yes.
Yeah, you can match all three, so that's great. Um, and I also want to go back to the race car too, because he would get quite emotional about those races.
Yes,
As
very
in,
into them and a collector also
yeah,
of
but in watching them, there's cheering, there's yelling, there's getting involved in the actual moment.
yes, very into different race car things.
Yeah, and he knew, it feels as if, yeah, there's a number. He knew the cars, the details, the drivers, and I feel like there's memorabilia that went along with that.
All of the above,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, he's a very good communicator because normally I'd want to break those apart, but he's putting them all in a little ball that's that's making sense. So that's great for him. I feel like it would have been a dream of his to attend, if it's not the Indianapolis 500, then oh, can't think of the other one. Uh,
NASCAR, no.
NASCAR, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, he was into mostly Indy and then kind of switched around.
Okay. Okay, good. Where he's going between the two there. Um, I don't know if you would know this about him too, but it feels as if he's going to the times in which the cars actually interact with each other, they crash with each other. In that was quite that really I don't want to say excite him because that makes it sound a little morbid, but it was all that action that he just absolutely adored.
I'd have to ask my sister that because she watched with him all the time.
Okay, yeah, that's
But
fine.
he actually owned two Indy cars and
Oh
he
wow, fantastic.
there was
Okay,
all
don't
kinds
don't say any more
of okay.
though.
All
Okay.
right, great.
Yeah, because not only did he own them, he would have been one to put on the fire. There's a fire suit they have to dress in, isn't there, to go in? So he would have dressed up and gone into one.
He collected the jackets and clothing and stuff,
Okay,
but I
that
don't
might
think
be
he
okay.
put
Yeah,
it
again,
on. But
that's okay. Yes, no. He was giving me the impression of that kind of down to detail of that, knowing exactly what was going on. He also had the memory like a steel trap. He could go back and recount details.
yes,
Yeah, which okay, and not just related to that, like that's a love of his, absolutely. But I feel that in gatherings and get-togethers, um, almost to a fault, he's saying he could remember all sorts of minute details. Um, you'd remember that.
yes,
Yeah. He's also a card player. That makes sense to you.
no,
No, not a card player, because it feels as if I know my numbers and I can remember those and calculate them instantly very well.
maybe having to do with racing numbers.
Okay, it could be that. I was getting the sense of either dice or cards, as if he may have gambled as well, on the side, not a major
No,
issue. Okay, we're not sure of that one, or that's a no, I should say. Okay, I'm going to go back to his directness and his curtness too, because when he had, okay, I'll say he was somewhat of a listener, but once he said what he had to say, he basically tuned out.
Yes.
Okay. Um, yes, and he's giving a bit of that now because he's come in to acknowledge that he's here and to say thank you for the times of hosting him. Um, but also, yeah, reaching out to his wife, as you mentioned, that's doing that would be, from his point of view, would be absolutely wonderful, just to verify and to clear that indeed he is there enjoying the races. He's not saying that there's racing on the other side, but he's he's kind of giving a reference that he can visualize and see racing still where he is and still loving it. Um, Absolutely, absolutely fine. Those cars that he had would have been meticulous. Like he would have had to make
Hmm.
sure everything was down, like and polished, and yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, from him, he's hoping someone's looking after and loving those cars as much as he did. Um, okay, very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julie. He's given the impression that if I came in and I said what I wanted to say, and now I'm out of here.
No, that it's interesting because yeah, he even had two Ferraris at the end, but he had a warehouse that he rented that he had all of his cars in that was the size of a house and had its own bathroom upstairs. And he had
Oh,
everything hooked up to battery packs and bubble things and everything preserved, the
wow, that's
miles and the
amazing.
cars.
Yeah, yeah. He
So that
really,
was right
yeah.
on.
As he said there, he's really hoping someone's looking after those toys of his good.
Most are gone now, but
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Oh
Yeah.
well.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank
Thanks
you,
so
Julie.
much.
Yeah, and I thank your brother-in-law too. Thanks.
Tim,
And thanks,
thank
Sandra.
you so much. Oh, I'm always so delighted when we're together on our Sunday gatherings. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more about Tim, book a reading, or contact him, psychicmediumtim.com is his website. And as a medium, you get to experience the emotions from those on the other side. So, no doubt, Tim felt the love that each one of these people had for their loved ones. It's amazing. It's not too late to join our ongoing medium classes, by the way. If you're interested, you may never want to be a medium, and that's okay. But it's just that your divine power of the soul, you get to see how it works. And we practice with other people in the class through Zoom rooms, just like this, but you're talking to people. And then you get to feel the love and other things and like memories that aren't yours and they belong to the spirit person. So I think everyone should take a class. The new class is called The Gentle Path to Spirit with Carrie and Phil. It started 1 week ago, Monday, but you get the replay so you can and watch it. And whether you join live or you watch the replays, that's up to you. But you can find out more about those. If you just want to go to we-don't-die.com, click on the store page, and you'll see that the Gentle Path is the first thing to click on there. Also, our latest film, Evidence of the Afterlife, Saving Evidential Mediumship, is on Apple TV. Follows our friends and medium tutors, Carrie McLeod and Phil Dykes, in the whole world of mediumship. And some really great things within there about medium readings, but not only that, how close our loved ones are and keeping that connection alive. So you can go to Apple TV and just search for Evidence of the Afterlife. 1 week from tomorrow, Scott Milligan and we host a class called Trance in the Altered States. Different kind of mediumship. We spend a lot of the time in the class with our eyes closed. There are no breakout rooms, but it is quieting down the busy mind to allow for that gentle connection to our soul, the spirit world, and also our guides and inspirers. Next week, I'll be joined with Darren. Will be back with our friend Dominic Bogue, and they can tell us all about their Caribbean cruise that they are currently on. Love that. You can find out everything at we-don't-die.com. If you have not yet gotten a copy of my book and you'd like to read it, the bottom of the page at we-don't-die.com, just enter your name and your email address. I always recommend that you read chapter 10 because I know something that joins everybody here today is that we've experienced grief, and sometimes you are at the worst place imaginable in pain, and it does give so much information about why we grieve, what's happening into our bodies, what we can do to feel better, but then also to keep that connection alive, as well as I have my podcasts there between We Don't Die Radio and then my show Shades of the Afterlife on iHeartRadio. I have now 802 maybe unique episodes. So I'm really passionate not only about sharing the afterlife, but helping through grief and then helping everybody realize that we are so much more powerful than we think. We really are souls having a human experience, divine souls. A shout out to all of our friends who have made our Sunday gathering possible. Thank you from the bottom of my heart and Tim's as well for allowing this platform for the connection and for us to be together. If ever you wish to donate to our Sunday gathering, just go to the Sunday gathering page at wedon'tdie.com. You can also find past Sunday gatherings there to watch the replay as well as register for the next ones coming up. But thank you to our patrons for that. So the last thing I just want to share from me before I pass it over to Tim for our closing prayer is to spend some time this week thinking about that divine soul that you have, that you can be in connection with. You don't have to sit in meditation all the time. You can be out for a walk. You can be listening to music. You can be just present and try to not think about everything that you still have to do or think about yesterday, but be present. And also, what's coming to mind is I know I speak a lot about automatic writing or inspired writing that we can use to connect with our loved ones, but we can also connect with our soul that way. Do a little experiment with yourself. Sit in that quiet space and just have that like that loving prayer to your soul. You know, what is it I need to know? What would you like to share with me? And whether it's your computer or your notebook with a pen, just have a little conversation with yourself. And you may be surprised at some of the wisdom that comes out of your own fingertips. And like, where did that come from? We do have a divine soul. And last, if you want to do the practice of Einstein and spend as much time as you can, whenever you can, looking at things to be grateful for, don't be surprised if other good things show up your way. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tim for our closing prayer.
Thanks, Sandra. And thanks everyone who's here as well. And I just want to, being impressed to just reiterate again, wanting to connect to your loved ones, joining a class is an excellent way of developing that ability that we all have within. And that's a wonderful step forward should you choose to take it. But now as we close in prayer, I invite you to close your eyes again. And we give thanks that we've heard, seen, and enjoyed many of the points together, and that there are many things that we can take for ourselves in the event of today. We are living in the moment, enjoying each of these, expressing our power, learning how to build our power, how to be a stronger self, how to be a kinder self. And we give thanks that we can do that amongst friends, and that we can do that from week to week. We give thanks. Amen.
Thank you so much, Tim. And thank you to our friends in the spirit world. They're not out there somewhere, friends. They are with us. They still continue to learn and grow, but they're just a heartbeat away from us, and they're right back with us. And thank you for joining us today. As we go to our closing song, I picked another Coldplay song. Yes, I did. See if you can hear that divine inspiration that I can hear in it. It is really, we are connected to all of the universe, and we're a sky full of stars. So let's listen to our closing song. And then we'll say, see you later to you, guys and gals. Here we go. I love that song. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We didn't have time to write you back on all those sweet messages in the chat box, but we see them, we read them. Love you. See you next week, if not sooner. Remember, wedon'tdie.com is the home base for all good things. All right. Thanks again, Tim. Thanks, everyone. Bye.